Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I'm so delighted to welcome our next guest. I told him where I first saw him, and I totally aged us. It was my freshman year of college. I saw him go on as Mark and Rent, but since then, he has done so many other things. He's a writer, director, an actor, a producer, a teacher. Anything else that I'm missing? A lovely human from the few minutes we've chatted. Good
Totally. And
Italian skin.
and uncle. I mean, I don't know,
Uncle, why not?
Yeah,
Please
why
welcome
not?
Colin Hanlon. Woo! You want
Yay.
to be your own hype
Woo.
person? Do it.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, how sad is that? Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. He's
uh,
hot. Okay.
oh yeah, to some people he is.
Woo, look at that ass. Okay.
I
Um,
don't see it, so I can't say.
you don't want to. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, trust. I'm redoing a 30-day squat challenge because mine needs it. So yeah.
I've never done a squat. Okay.
Good
Nice.
for you know what? Good for you. My body physically hates working out. So the squat challenge is just going to be super obnoxious for me. But sometimes you just
23.
want a decent butt, and this will help.
Totally. And
Yeah,
it's January where everybody goes back to the gym.
sure. Yeah, for a week. And
For a
my
week.
like young
Yeah.
hummus of like, I was like really excited. I mean, it's also my birthday month, so I'm like, January, best month ever. But then
Hmm.
I think I'm just tired. I'm like, I'm not as excited as I was last week. But
Well, it's really nasty this week. It's cold and
yeah, I don't
rainy and snowy.
I actually don't mind cold weather, but maybe that's because I'm a January baby, but
Mhm.
that's just me. But anyway, enough about our butts.
Yeah, yeah, good. Moving
So,
on.
yes, moving on. So I always talk about or start with, where are you from?
I am from Hatboro, Pennsylvania, which is 20 minutes north of Philadelphia.
Okay. And what got you interested in theater and performing and all of that stuff?
Honestly, my family, they introduced me to movie musicals when I was a kid.
Mhm.
My grandmother on my dad's side was a huge theater person. She was British, so she would go back to visit her family in the West End, and then she would go see everything. Her and my grandfather would go for like 2 weeks, and they would literally see every West End show
Mhm.
that was on at that moment. And then she'd come back with all these playbills, and then I would look through all these playbills with her, and I was obsessed. And then
Mhm.
when she passed away, she saved all of her playbills from everything she'd ever seen
Wow.
and gave it to me. And I still have it. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with it. But she saw Mary Martin and Peter Pan and Mary Martin and the Sound of Music and like the Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, the original cast. I mean, like she was theater, theater, theater. And so
Yeah.
her and I would sit around and listen to recordings, and I was just obsessed. I was
Yeah.
just a gay theater boy obsessed in my room singing Miss Saigon,
Yeah.
doing the thing.
Well, I was in London 7 months ago and I do have some programs. So if you and I do become like best friends after this, you can come over
Right.
to my studio apartment and you can just like go through the programs that I have.
I would love to. I'm down.
Yeah. Like, I saw one play twice because why not? And I'm like, I'm not going to see this in New York. Like, who knows if they're going to bring a little life to New York anytime soon with this cast.
Oh,
Um,
you saw that? Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I got really lucky because it was one of those shows where I'm like, I don't know if I could sit through this again, but I want to see it again. And then I ended up seeing it again.
Mhm.
And I got a better seat for like a cheaper price or a decent price.
Yeah.
And but I did stage a door after to ask someone to come onto my podcast, which did not happen and is not going to happen. But I was talking to one of the actors, and he's like, "Oh yeah, if it does come to New York, I don't think it'll be Broadway." And he mentioned like one theater, and then he mentioned the Armory. So it's like that actually be pretty good in the Armory, but
Yeah. The Armory seems probably pretty right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's that one actor who's in oh my God, Happy Valley, right? The main.
James Norton.
Yeah, he's spectacular.
Yeah, he's the one who said the theater's
Who you
big.
at? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, the reason being is because there was this one actor who I said, I like your accent, and he said, thank you. That means a lot coming from an American. And I said, and I'm a New Yorker, so there you go. And
Yeah.
um, like I was a videographer for one of the girls who was so excited to meet James Norton.
Yeah.
And so something about the accent was brought up with them, and then she just like pointed at me and she's like, well, she's actually American. And so then we had that like little conversation. He's like, well, if we come to New York, then I'm gonna have to like make sure my accent's pretty good. I'm like, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
I
it'll be
don't
fine. He's James Norton.
I don't think like
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Yorkers and like theater New Yorkers are really like that picky about the New York accent. I could be wrong though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also because it's such the melting pot. Like, what is the New York accent? Unless you're from Long Island or something, or
I'm from Long
Jersey.
Island, but I don't have an accent.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I actually know a lot of Long Islanders that don't have accents. It just
Yeah.
depends on what section of Long Island you're from. Long Island.
Long
There you
Island.
go.
Although when I
Long
was in
Island.
college, I did a show with the Long Island accent.
Good for you.
Thank you. Long Island June.
Accents, way to go. Accents are not my thing, and two of my best friends love to remind me of that. Like
Um,
whenever I try to do on the others, they're really just they're horrible people, and they happen to be my best friends. But
oh,
they love to drag me.
sometimes that's what best friends are for. And
Yeah, I won't
hopefully
name their names.
his name is Bob and the other one is Timothy. I have no,
Totally. Yeah.
it's actually James Norton is your best friend. You just won't
Oh
share.
God, I wish. Yeah.
I will say, like on the plane ride back from London, I did watch 2 episodes of Happy Valley, and I was like, it's really good, but I feel like I knew what the entire series would be, and I was like, I don't know if I could sit through it. But I will say the lead in Happy Valley plays Julia Child, in that
No.
she's incredible. Like how she's not getting like more notoriety for playing Julia Child. She's incredible in that.
She's amazing in both. Like she's one of the best. She's top five favorite actors I've ever seen in anything. She's absolutely. I mean, Happy Valley is so hard to watch. It really is. Her character goes through so much, and so many variations of who she is. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. This woman is like,
Yeah.
she's spectacular. Yeah, the Brits just do it well.
Yeah.
They school us. They're just better than us, and I'm fine with that. I definitely think I'm funnier, but they're better. No, I'm just kidding. They're great. They're great.
Next play, go over to the UK, see what happens. Sorry, my chair like tends to push me down. So like throughout the day, you're gonna see me like, oh hey, let me just get
It's
closer
fine.
to my camera. Hold on.
Yeah,
Verklempt. So you went to the University of Syracuse, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
What made you decide to go to the University of Syracuse to get a theater degree, and what made you want to pursue that as a career?
I mean, as I said before, I just loved theater so much, and I did it in high school. A director in high school also went to Syracuse, so he was like, "You should look at Syracuse." And it was different then. I mean, I don't know about for you, but because I'm older than you are, but for me, I only looked at 3 schools. I mean, 4 schools. I looked at NYU, which is funny because now I work there. I'm an adjunct at NYU, and I auditioned there, and I got in, and I just wasn't ready for New York City. So I knew I wasn't ready for the Big Apple, and then I auditioned for Penn State University. I did not get into their musical theater program, but I got into their acting program. But I was so like, I want to do musicals. So like, that was not going to happen. And then I auditioned for a very small Catholic university, and I'm not Catholic, but it just happened to be close to my house, and it had a good theater program called DeSales,
Mhm.
which, funny enough, my good friend Dee Racioli would have been a year ahead of me, and she went there, so we would have known each other in college. So I was like between that and Syracuse, and then Syracuse was such a good program. When I went there, I just felt like everybody was a bunch of misfits in a
Mhm.
good way, and it was far enough away from home and not too far away from home. And the
Yeah.
Catholic university was just a little too, it was like a half an hour from my parents' house. So I kind of just wanted to start over again.
Yeah.
And, and I don't regret it. I had a great time. I mean, once you're on that, there's nothing around Syracuse except woods. So once you're on that campus, you're just there. But most of my good friends in college weren't theater people.
Mhm.
So I met them all in my freshman dorm. So I feel like I had a well-rounded, like, experience in college. I was going to like lacrosse games and football games, but then theater parties, and
Mhm.
I was able to sort of do it all.
Great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I went to Pace University, which is downtown Manhattan, and the program is so much different now from what it was when I went into school. And I was very green going into college, and it wasn't until like I've gotten into some schools where I told my parents I wanted to go into theater. So after I was already like I picked Pace, I auditioned for the musical theater program, but I didn't get in. And the head of
Mhm.
musical theater at the time, she was asking me like, what else do you want to do? I said, well, I want to direct. I want to do that. And she goes, you should become a BA in theater. And I said, okay, great. Because I didn't effing know anything.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was friends with like all of these like BFA students, like acting students.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I'll just take whatever class. And then I think like my junior year, I did a play, The Food Chain, with the one with the Long Island Jewish accent.
Okay.
Yeah. And the professor was like, you're taking all the BFA classes, just become a BFA. We'll use the show you did as your audition and like call it a day. So that's how I got my BFA in
Great.
acting. And ironically, I was talking to my boss today about like how I have an acting degree and she has a dance degree and now we work in medical. Like she's like
No.
the head of like care coordination and I'm like sitting there waiting for medical records to come in so I can send them off to a doctor.
Yeah, I
And
know.
here we are.
It's funny how life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always say to people, an acting and a degree in acting, doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to work. It makes you so much more of a well-rounded person. I mean, acting is really just psychology.
Yeah.
Figuring out yourself, figuring out other people,
Yeah.
and and being a good interviewer and being an open human being, which is most
Yeah.
people that don't have a degree in acting are just bad interviewers for the most part.
Yeah. Well, thank you
You
for
know,
thinking I'm such a good interviewer for the like
you
last
are.
15 minutes. Thank you. I'm gonna put
Well,
my music. It's
there you
my
go.
thanks. Who is that? What's her name again from Schitt's Creek? Alexis.
Alexis, yeah, a little bit Alexis.
Hello. Maybe
Oh
I'll wear
my
my
God.
Halloween costume this year. I was just like sit in my apartment and do nothing per usual. So what, so college is done. Like,
College is
what is Syracuse's? I mean, it was many moons ago, again, not to age you, but
sure.
I'm sure programs are a little bit different now than they were. But like I said, it's different from when I was in school. So with Syracuse, was there a showcase? Like, how did your senior
Yes.
year like end?
Yes, there was a showcase. I didn't really do well, and I mean well meaning I didn't get an agent out of my showcase. Being from Philadelphia, I had a talent manager
Mhm.
who repped me since I was like 16 or 17 years old. So when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of TV commercials, and
Mhm.
I would take the train into New York and I would audition for stuff. And I got very lucky, and I probably got five or six, between 16 to like early 20s. And then I didn't get an agent until I did a production of Tick Tick Boom at the George Street Playhouse. And my manager said to an agent that she worked with very closely, Richard Fisher at A3, she said, go see my client. I think you're really going to like him. And he took a chance and came out and signed me. And he's still my agent 20 some years later. It's
Oh,
crazy. So,
yeah, you
yeah.
also,
But when I,
yeah, sorry, go ahead. I'm
no,
talking
no, go
over
ahead.
you. Please,
No, no,
no,
no, go ahead.
no. Colin, you're the
No,
guest. Continue.
no, I was just gonna say, then when I got out of college, I just like I did what every actor does. I mean, I waited tables. I was a host. I like gave out gum in Times Square wearing a running outfit. I mean, I had the weirdest jobs, like working for those like event companies and
Yeah.
catering. I mean, I literally did it all. And then I would go on auditions and I pushed my way into open calls and I auditioned for commercials and I kept getting a couple, which like kind of helped help me pay my rent.
Mhm.
And as I was saying before we started recording, I did a production of Pirates of Penzance that Montego Glover played opposite me.
Okay.
And I was Frederick and she was Mabel, and it was great. It was like on a pirate ship, an old like an 18th century pirate ship that is down at the South Street Seaport called the Good Ship Peking, and we did it on that boat. I don't know what Equity was thinking. There was no bathroom. We all peed in a little tiny porta potty on the boat. Number one, and if you had to do number two, you had to get off the boat and go to the South Street Seaport Mall and get your business done and come back. This was like before the towers fell, the summer before the towers fell. We did this production, but it lasted for like 5 months, and it was like a huge. We were nominated for a Lortel Award, and it was like a big deal at the time because they hadn't revived Pirates of Penzance, and they did like an updated version of it. So they changed the lyrics. The lyricist and creator Michael changed all these lyrics in a very witty way, and it was fun. It was great. And then from there, I kept auditioning, and you know,
Yeah.
kept
I
going.
love
Yeah,
how like the one thing I got out of that was like how the mall doesn't exist anymore at the South Street Seaport.
yeah. It's a concert space now, I think, right?
Yeah, and there's like
So yeah,
restaurants and stuff in there. Really great
yeah.
bathroom, nice view, but it's not the same. Like that was where when I was in college, I would go there to like have my Zen. I'd sit, look at the Brooklyn Bridge. It's not like it's different. It's not the same.
I
you know?
know, it's true. Yeah, totally. I
Um,
know. Sad for us.
yeah. But you do, what I was gonna say, you do have a little bit of a history with the George Street Playhouse. You've done a couple of productions with them, and
Mhm.
you've also were lucky enough to direct the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
I was, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I also just want to point out, I love how you did a production of Falsettos with them, and then cut to a couple of years later, you did the Broadway revival of Falsettos as an understudy, which is kind of like weirdly full circle. Did you ever get to go on Broadway?
No, I was the only cover. I was the only standby who didn't go on. Like, and because I mainly covered Andrew and Christian, and neither one of them ever called out. They
Mm,
never called out in the 4 months there. To be honest, I say this, and people are like, "Oh," but I really mean it. Like, I'm glad I didn't go on because it was, and I loved everybody in that cast. I realized after that production that that's not the job for me. Like, I can't handle not knowing that whether I'm going on or not that night. Like my stress, my internal stress level, like I'm a Scorpio, I'm a control freak. Like I just was like, I mean, I knew my stuff and I would have been ready, but they were such a, not to quote the show, but like a tight knit family that it
mm,
just felt like the standbys just don't have any time to rehearse, and you definitely don't rehearse with the cast. So
yeah.
like, the other Stephanie Umo and Courtney Ballin and Tally Sessions, they all went on. Even Peyton, the little boy who was the cover for the little boy, he went on. I mean, it was just, and the fear in their eyes performing, I was just like standing in the back, videotaping it for them illegally. Yes, I did that, and sending it to them. I was like, I don't want to do it because and they have too, but I've gotten to perform so many times. Like, I don't need to, and I don't want this to sound bad, but I don't need to be on a Broadway stage in order to feel like I'm accomplishing what I want to accomplish as an actor, So like,
All right, go ahead, and
go
then
ahead.
I'll get to no,
Yeah.
please, again, you're my guest.
No, no,
Continue.
no, it's fine. I mean, I knew William Finn from him coming to see Falsettos when I did it at George Street, and I knew him back in the day from the Spelling Bee cast because they were all like my best friends,
Yeah.
and my first boyfriend was the original Chip Tolentino out of town, Rob Sapp. So like I had such a connection with Bill, and I
Mhm.
didn't know James Lapine. So like mainly I auditioned to cover because I wanted to just sort of get to know them and work with them, and honestly just watch James Lapine work.
Yeah.
And I got everything out of that show I really wanted to, and I loved everybody, and I love that people loved it as much as they did, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time and favorite roles I've ever gotten to play, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my friend who I told you about who like freaked out, he lied.
Yeah. Yeah.
I messaged her after and I was like, well, now I'm depressed, like having, because
Hmm.
there's certain like I grew up with like Rogers and Hammerstein movie musicals and Annie and like also like non-movie musicals like Dirty Dancing, but I didn't like grow up with Sondheim. And again, I was very green going to college, so I didn't really know falsettos that well. And so weirdly in a good way, it was kind of nice to go in with like fresh eyes, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's not a happy show, but it's a happy show, if you know what I mean, at moments.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I mean, Bill Finn is. I mean, if I had to pick one, and if any of my composer friends listen to this, I'm sorry, and I love you all too. But there's just something about Bill Finn's music that and his lyrics, and because he just surprises you, because he will break your heart in 1 second, and then
yeah,
make you laugh, and a second later, and then make you go, "What the hell did he just say? Like, what is happening?" Like, his brain is so
yeah.
complex, and his rhyming is so complex, and it's just his work is unexpected, whereas a lot of times most writers are pretty straightforward, you know.
Well, you know what? Such is life. That's what life is too. You're crying, you're laughing, you don't know if it's gas or if you have something else
Exactly.
going on. But I want
Exactly.
to go back to something of what you said, like you don't have to be on Broadway to fulfill what you want to be an actor. And I think that's an important sentiment for people who are listening, who want to pursue a career in the theater or to
Mhm.
pursue a career acting, because there are a lot of actors, performers, what have you, who never have a Broadway credit, who have one Broadway credit, who stand by, never go on, all that stuff. And that doesn't diminish what you do as a performer, and you still get to perform and do everything you studied and want to do and love and enjoy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that for the
I
kids
mean,
out there?
yeah, it's so much easier for me to say this now coming at it on the other side, having
Yeah.
done a couple Broadway shows and all those things. I look at it now and I'm like, some of my favorite theatrical experiences weren't, none of them were on Broadway, you know, and there's a multitude of reasons of why that is, but you know, I also was like, I got to be on Broadway. I got to be on Broadway. And Rent was my first Broadway show, but it took me 12 times to audition for that show until they gave it to me. And there's a number of reasons why that is. You know, clearly somebody was more right for the role than I was, or the role wasn't even available and they were filling in their files and whatnot. But you know, I decided really early on that I wanted to play roles, and if that meant that I wasn't going to originate a Broadway show playing a role, then I just wasn't going to do it, and I could do it other places. I mean, I left Rent to go do I Love You Because, and everybody thought I was crazy because I left a paycheck that paid me $2,500 to go to do an off-Broadway musical for $600. And my agent was like, I don't, how are you going to pay rent? And I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll get a commercial. I don't, I'll wait tables during the day. Like, I don't know. I want to go originate a part. And looking back on it, I'm so glad I did because I got to do this sweet little quirky, weird musical that is kind of the thing that I'm most recognized from, at least voice wise,
Yeah.
from, you know, in musical theater because, you know, it's like
You
college
gotta
kids are like, oh
kinda
my God,
connect
that's
to
you.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I had somebody on the podcast a few months ago, and they told me like off recording, like they were supposed to do something like during the winter, but then they ended up doing an off-Broadway musical, and I saw the show and I saw them after. I was like, oh, so I guess you weren't doing this. He goes, I get to originate an off-Broadway, like an originated role, like off-Broadway. That's pretty cool, you know? And I mean, like, obviously I was joking about the thing that he was gonna do because clearly what he was doing was a little better, but yeah, I get it. I get it. So hold on, let me look at my list of other things you did. So you toured with Wicked as Fiero. What did they call
I
the Fiero
did.
things? The like the
Oh, the
brotherhood?
different companies.
No, no, like the
Oh,
what they call the Fieros is like the brotherhood of like the tight white pants or something.
I don't even know. I don't even know. It's funny because I mean, funny enough, I did the original workshop of Wicked.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Was
it
that
was we.
was that
Hmm?
was that like before Adina original
No,
workshop? Oh,
Adina was in it. This
okay.
wasn't the California one. They did one in California allegedly with like Stephanie Block or something. But
Mhm.
then I think they did the New York one, which is when they were like it was like 3 months before they were going to San Francisco. So it was Adina, it was Kristen, it was God, who else was in it? The guy from the actor who was in Coyote Ugly, the movie, Adam
Oh,
Garcia.
Adam Garcia. Yeah, I think he ended up doing it in London.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was really great. I mean, I love Norbert Leo Butz. Don't get me wrong, but Adam is just like really sexy, and the song was terrible. It wasn't Dancing Through Life. It was Which Way Is, I shouldn't even say terrible. Sorry, Steven. It was a dance. It was Which Way Is the Party, and it was a crazy song. It was like Which way is the party? Which way is the next keg of Winky beer? Like I can't make that up. And I swear to God, those are the lyrics. And I was like, what's happening? And
I
it
just did
was
the take. That was amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean that's literally
Yeah.
what the lyrics were. But in the ensemble, it was me, Christian Borle, Celia Keenan Bolger, Mandy Gonzalez, and like two other people. And I like it was crazy. So anyway, so cut to years later. I don't know. It had to be 7, 8 years later. I'm doing a play in St. Louis called Next Fall, which was a
You know,
Broadway
it's so
play.
funny because I'm going through that like list of credits I told you I have pulled up, and I
Uh-huh.
literally just pulled up to next fall, and I wanted to talk to you about that play because it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen on Broadway.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so please
Well,
continue.
anyway, so,
Yeah.
so I just they wanted me to like fly into audition for Wicked, and I was like, I'm in tech, I can't. I'm doing this play, and it was way before the times of self tape. So I was like, they're like, well, maybe do a self tape, and I was like, what the fuck is that? So my co-star Jeffrey Kuhn actually was Bach on Broadway years before, and he plays the piano really well. So he's like, I'll play the piano, let's just tape it, let's just sing through the stuff, I'll coach you. And I was like, okay. So we totally set up the camera or whatever, and I'm such an idiot. I had no idea what I was doing then. I set the camera up sideways. So when I went to upload it on my computer, I'm literally sideways singing Dancing Through Life and As Long as You're Mine. And I had no time to do it again because it was due at 10 a.m. and we were teching until midnight. So I just sent it in and I was like, okay. And I think they just took pity on me. And since I had done the workshop and since I knew Joe and Steven and David Stone and everybody, they were like, okay, you get to do it. So I only did it on tour. So I sort of feel like the bastard stepchild Fiero because I never came to Broadway. I just, I always say I was definitely not the most handsome Fiero, but I was definitely the funniest. So I was just
Going with the
like,
funny
I don't,
Piero?
yeah. So I don't know that I was like, picking up what they wanted me to put down, but I did the best I could.
Did you go back
Um,
like Dillamond or the Wizard at some point?
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
is
know. I
that
don't. I think. I
Wicked?
think it's. I think it's done. I love that show. It's just like not. You know what I mean? Not for me. What
Yeah.
did you want to What did you
No,
want to
I
ask
just
me
want
about
to like
next
talk
fall?
to you about next fall. Like, how did that come into your life?
I loved it. I just auditioned. I did the first regional production after Broadway.
Mm.
Our director Seth was. I didn't know him beforehand. I walked into the audition room. I also had seen the play on Broadway, and I loved it. And I loved
Yeah,
the play, and I just was very lucky that day, and they cast me, and
yeah,
um, it was great. I loved it. I loved St. Louis rep. They treated us really well. It was interesting doing it there. I didn't realize how conservative, at least I don't know, 12 years ago, how conservative St. Louis was. So, and that play is real gay. I mean, like, there's moments where I'm like, was in my underwear and we're kissing, and people would get up and leave. They would walk out. And I had done plays where, I was playing gay characters and plays where, I was in my underwear and all that stuff back in my youth. And I had never experienced a walkout before. So it's pretty fascinating to be like, oh, wow, they are really turned off by two men kissing and being in a relationship on stage. They couldn't quite handle it, you know?
you couldn't.
Um,
Well, if they stay, they would have seen a lot more of the struggle between between.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They would have seen me in a bed with like, on tubes.
Yeah.
But I love that play. I mean, Jeffrey Knopfler is a good friend of mine, and his husband, Christopher Hankey, is one of my dear friends. And Jeffrey and he's writing a musical, which is really badass. And I hope it sees the light of day very soon. I think it will see the light of day somewhere, but it's great. So him and I have remained friends, and I think he's a remarkable writer and a really good quality person. So
Like I told you before we started, during the pandemic, I directed a bunch of plays, and one of them I did that I was very adamant about doing was next fall. So yeah,
yeah,
it was
I would love to direct it too. Yeah, it's just such a sad play. I pitched it to a few regional theaters recently, and they've been like, yeah, I guess it's just, I don't know, it's just so sad. I'm like, okay, but I love it. I think there's so many funny moments to it too.
yeah, there are so many lighthearted moments. And I mean, yes, it's
Yeah.
sad, but I mean, it's, I don't want to get into the whole details of the story of
Hmm.
what went down with it, but I think it really depends on who you cast as Adam and how they interpret the end of the play, like especially the
Exactly.
after what happens to Luke. So
Hmm.
we can
Agreed.
talk about that off podcast if I
Okay, yeah,
remember
we can.
and if you care.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to like go through all of your things because you have so much stuff. You did the
Oh
stage.
boy.
Oh my God, you played William Shakespeare in something
Oh, I
more.
did.
Yeah, let's talk
Hmm.
about that sexy moment. Did you also do the
Well,
Christian brawl where you just like pumped out your chest and your jacket opened?
oh my God. Well, you know what's so funny is that it was at Sacramento Music Circus, so they used
Yeah.
the Broadway costumes.
Oh
So
wow.
I didn't know whether I was wearing Christian Borle's costume or Adam Pascal's costume because they're pretty much the same height, I think. But
Mhm.
I'm just a giant person, so like they had to let out so much of that costume. Like there's nothing worse than getting a costume that wasn't fit for you, that people are trying to squeeze your body into to make you feel like
Yeah.
you're just, yeah, it's just a lot. You know what I mean? Um, I saw that show on Broadway with my good buddy Kate Weatherhead,
Mhm.
and we went to opening night because Kevin McCollum was
Oh,
one of our.
I was there opening night
Oh,
and
you were?
I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
Kate and I stopped her and I said, I love submissions only. And she said, thank you. And then she went away with her husband.
That sounds like Kate. Yeah, that makes sense.
I had
Um,
like a brain fart moment because I forgot what submissions. I was like, "You're great. I love submissions." It was one of those moments. Yeah, but she was like,
yeah,
"Thanks," and then went on her
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. I think Jeff lit the show. I think if I'm remembering
So
correctly.
yeah,
Um, but anyway, Kevin McCollum invited us because he was doing submissions only with us our third season.
yeah.
And we just went out and had dinner, Kate and I, before the show, and we had just had too many martinis. So like when I was watching the show, I was like, I'm enjoying it, but I have no idea what's going on. Like I think I just ate too much and I was like drunk, which is not something I normally do. And so years later, when Linda Goodrich, who actually just directed Gavin's show
Oh
Walk
yeah.
On Through, which I didn't get to see, which I heard was great. I'm
I
sad I
did
missed it.
there, and I love the Metropolitan Museum of Art, so I feel like that would
Oh,
be the perfect
it's
show for
probably
me.
your, yeah, probably your jam. Yeah.
Also, like I have
Um,
money to buy any tickets for anything, so
yeah.
just
Yeah, no, I hear you. Anyway, Linda directed Something Rotten, and I had worked with her on this thing up in Michigan the couple years before, and she was like, "Do you have any desire to come do Shakespeare and Something Rotten? I think you're funny. Let's do this." And I was like, "Okay." And I barely remember the show, but I don't tap dance. So then when I realized it was tap dancing, I was like, "Oh shit!" So I'm pretty proud of myself. Like they definitely scaled it down. Like they toned that shit down
yeah.
for me. But it was really funny, and I had a bunch of friends come up from LA to see it, and I love that cast. And that show was so stupid and so fun, and the audience like went gaga for it. It was like really entertaining. It was
Yeah,
great. I loved it.
I saw it twice. One of my best friends, she used to usher more at the St. James. She kind of does it
Hmm.
like here and there. But I was her opening night date, and like you were at opening night, so it was at Tavern on the Green, and it was like this huge party, and like Andrew and Andrew were the DJs, and like Tina Fey was there, and I met her that night. Like I have like the out of a movie meeting Tina Fey story.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was just like a wild night, and I actually couldn't drink because I was like on antibiotics for like a sinus infection. But my two friends were like, no, but just I remember I loved it so much. I thought it was so great. I remember seeing it the first time and like writing on Facebook at intermission, like everybody has to get their tickets now because like it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
Something Rotten
yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there any like shows that you did that still like stick with you or you would want to revisit?
Um, I I'm very proud of a play I did at the Vineyard called Dot
Yeah.
that Susan Stroman directed and
And it was Coleman Domingo,
Coleman Domingo
most
wrote.
likely to be nominated for an Oscar because he just got a SAG nomination.
Yes, he will, and it would be very deserved. He is the best. He
Yeah.
really is. He's so talented, and he wrote this beautiful play that was a love letter to his mother and also all of his friends' mothers, some of which suffer from Alzheimer's. So it was a very sweet, very funny slapstick, dark comedy about Alzheimer's, and it was a really special cast, and it felt really fun. And I've always wanted to work at the Vineyard Theater, and I just couldn't believe that I got cast. And I've always wanted to work with Susan Stroman, and it was her first play. She'd never directed a play before, and to this day, she is one of the greatest directors I've ever worked with. I mean, she just knows how to make a moment work, and she knows how to talk to actors. She knows how to respect actors. She does more work than anybody in the room. I mean, she's just the coolest. She's not what you think she's going to be, and she is just like down to earth. She is a Delaware girl, and I am like a stan for her.
Yeah.
And it just felt really like Spike Lee came to see it. It just felt like it was one of those plays where you're like, what? This, the Vineyard's tiny. It's like 150 seats or something. You're like, who's coming to this? And it's just like, what's going like
Like,
Spike Lee? Yeah, it just was crazy. And it got extended, and we really thought we were going to transfer, and then we didn't, and that was disappointing. But I hear that he has adapted it to be a mini series, I think, for television. So I think he's going to sell it. I think it would make a really good television show. So um, yeah, that's the one thing that sticks out. I mean, definitely submissions only. I know it's not a play or a
oh
musical,
yeah,
but
we're gonna talk about it, don't worry.
okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, most plays and stuff I've done, I feel some closure to them. Also you just get older, and so you go, I'm too old for the part now. You know what I mean? And there's other things that I'd love to do. There's a few musicals that I'm like, I would do that before I kind of retire my musical theater hat.
Yeah.
But I got to do Tick Tick Boom 3 times before it was very popular. Like now it's like everybody's doing it. And I got to work with Scott Schwartz, the original director. I got to work with Gabe Barry. And then I did it first with David Saint at George Street, which is my first show at George Street. And all of them were great, and everybody in it was great. And I felt very, very fortunate to do it.
So let's talk about submissions only. How did it,
Let's talk about it.
so you co-produced it and you starred in it? Catherine Waterhead created it, right? Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
I don't know, Kate Weatherhead.
Okay, wow.
Kate Weatherhead.
Bye. Thanks for coming on. I already messed it up.
It's okay.
Yeah. Did she,
It's okay.
did she like write and create it? It's been so long since I watched it, but if you are
Yeah.
listening,
I'll
please
give you the
please go and like try and find to watch it because I will never forget like the first season where like it's like, oh my God, I already have Kate's character. She was like auditioning for like the Mean Girls musical. And like that was years before it was even like a thing. And they were and you guys were parroting it. And Annalie Ashford is like, oh my God. And she's like one of those like really hyped up theater people who like auditions for everything and like sings everything. She's like
yeah, the
singing.
adorable girl. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, character.
yeah.
Funny thing about that Annalie Ashford, and now that it's been so long that I can give you some serious tea on it,
Oh,
is that we had our first season out, and
mhm,
then Smash came, if you remember the Smash television show,
I do.
and we know that those creators watched our show because they had meetings with Kate and Andrew. Maybe gonna bring them on to Smash. Didn't happen. Met with them. Then the first season of Smash, we were like, this is funny. You seem to be stealing a lot of our storylines. And then Annalie Ashford ends up playing the adorable girl, the annoying girl at the auditions, the same exact character that was on Submissions Only. And there was a lot of that happening, and we were always like, huh, okay, just stealing from the little guy. I mean, not the music, not like Mark and Scott, they're great. It's just like what's her face, that playwright that I can't think of her name.
Rebecca.
Yeah, yeah, Teresa Rebeck. Yeah, we were always like, anyway. But besides that pettiness,
Mhm.
um
But we
you
can get
know
into that Smash. I only say that because I used to do merch at the theaters and
yeah,
during that time and just remember like a very like a bartender was like, yeah, because you're allowed to leave your theater in costume, roam through Times Square. Also, you're working in this theater, but yet your stage door is on this street, which is like blocks away from the theater you're working. So,
yeah, completely. Well, listen, I mean, I know a lot of people that worked on Smash. I have some. I love Mark Shaman. I really do.
yeah.
He's a friend of mine. I think he's the most talented ever, and and he did remarkable work on that TV show. My main issue with Smash is it didn't know what it was, and it didn't know the tone of. It didn't know what tone it wanted to be. And you can't. There wasn't a lot of truth happening in it, and I think the difference between, obviously I'm extremely biased, but I
Mhm.
think the difference between the reason Submissions Only was successful at that small level is it was a bunch of theater people that actually were theater people,
Yeah.
like living and breathing it, creating it, and writing about stuff and making fun of things
Mhm.
with truth behind it. Because the only reason something is funny is because there's a little bit of truth in it. And when Megan Hilty starts taking a lot of prednisone and starts hallucinating and going crazy,
Mhm.
that's not what happens when you take prednisone. And I know because I took it back in the day. So it's just like things like that, and people that aren't theater people don't understand why it's not working, but they know that it's not working, which is why it didn't have more than two seasons. Like that kind of thing should have had more than two seasons. I mean, Steven Spielberg was producing it. It had the money behind it. It just didn't have the truth behind it.
Well, you
Maybe
know
I'm
what?
gonna,
No,
yeah,
it's fine because they're doing a staged version of it. They're
I
doing like
know,
the
I
reading.
know. I worry about it, but you know what? But maybe they figured it out. I don't know who's directing it. I have no idea what's going on.
But
Hopefully
people,
Teresa Ryback is not doing it, but we'll see. You know,
a lot of people love it. And I think, sometimes with television and
totally,
film, if you're not a theater person, like you don't eh, like think of that stuff or you just watch it for like pure enjoyment. Like, yeah, I knew a lot of it wasn't reality, but like, I don't know, for me, when I'm watching something, I just watch it for enjoyment. I'm like, well, that's not realistic, but whatever. It's taking its liberties because it's a TV show or a film.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just to me, and listen, I watch some I watch some really trashy, great TV shows. But the reason I can watch something that's just like cute and colorful and fun, but it just has to know what it is. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, it's funny because people always like kind of shit on Emily in Paris, and I'm like, but it knows what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Paris. Yeah.
yeah, that I can't shit on that show because it is exactly what it is supposed to be. Smash wasn't. Smash was like, I don't know what I am. Every episode it was a new tone, and so many funny things were happening in it, but they were only funny because we were laughing at it, not with
Yeah.
it. That's the difference.
Let's talk about Emily in
Um,
Paris very quickly. I agree with you.
yeah,
And plus, I think that's a show that people are like, oh, Emily's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And again, that's another thing. I'm like, people are taking things too literal. Like, let it be what it is. I do believe that it romanticizes Paris so much
sure.
that like it makes you, I mean, I went to Paris many moons ago and I was like, this isn't as like amazing as I thought it was going to be, but I still had a
Yeah.
good time. But I would love to go back, and I think I still have that like romantic notion of Paris in my head. And whenever I watch Emily in Paris, I still have that romantic notion, and I think that's what it is. And it's Darren Star. Uncoupled that you were on, which I'm
Yeah.
so happy it was saved by
Oh
what.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just got my first. Yeah, I'm shooting in May, so I'm in the first. Yeah, I just got news that I'm in the first episode, and they haven't. I'm hoping more episodes than just one, but they haven't approved the other scripts yet. But they called and be like, "Is he available in May? Because he's in the first script." So, yeah,
yeah.
me too. I really feel like Uncoupled is really going to find more of its footing in season two. Like it just kind of took off, and but once again, it knows what it is. Like it knows whether or not you like it or not is a different thing. But you can't be like, it doesn't know what it is. Like it knows exactly what it is. And either you're picking up what, you're enjoying it or you're not, you
Yeah.
know?
And it's always
Yeah,
fun to like watch shows, and like I have a friend who was on one of the episodes, like making out with Neil Patrick Harris. And it's like, oh, that's
sure.
awesome, you know, making out with Neil Patrick
Yeah,
Harris in a
totally.
hot tub,
Oh
there you
my
are.
God, I know. Totally. I love.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Now I'm gonna have to like wait until who knows when that show's coming out in 2025 at this point.
Yeah, it probably won't come out. I mean, the good thing with half-hour sitcoms is that they can pump it out really quickly, and I think Showtime doesn't do the dump, the like 8 episode dump that Netflix does. So it would I would say if it starts in May, very likely it could come out like midsummer because I think it's supposed to be like a summer theme this
Mhm.
season. So
Not to
we'll
give
see.
too much away, spoilers, but well,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
mean,
I don't know that I don't.
Yeah, Netflix also likes to divide their seasons. Like I kind of stopped watching Virgin River, but because it like to me it's just all of the same thing. But like
Sure.
the new season of Bridgerton is going to be divided up into two parts, which I think is I have no idea why they do that.
I don't know. It's probably a budget thing. It's probably like, who knows? I mean, it also just gets to the point where some of those stars of those big shit shows get other jobs, and if it's the third season, they have outs in their contract to go film other things, but yet they have to come back. There's so many factors in like why they do it.
I don't know. I don't film TV shows. I record a podcast and work in medical.
Ah, I just dip into it. I dip my toe in, and then I
Yeah.
run back to my safe theater box.
Yeah. I like, when you always have that young thing of like, when I'm this age, I'm gonna win all the awards and and then you're just like, I need to work to make money and I do nothing. But
Yeah,
yeah, so let's get back to submissions only. So how did you get
sure.
involved with that?
Kate and I did a musical called Sarah Plain and Tall together at the Dallas Theater Center, which we loved, written by Larry O'Keefe and Nell Benjamin
Mhm.
um, of the um, the fame of Legally Blonde,
Mhm.
um, at least Larry, Legally Blonde, and we became fast friends. We were there for like 10 weeks. It was a long contract, and we just hung out every single day and we had done readings together. We knew who each other was, but then that was how we became super close. And then a couple years later, like a year later, she was down there again and she called me and said, "Hey, this is kind of weird, but I became friends with Andrew Keenan Bolger and he's been playing around with his camera." And her husband, Jeff Kreuter, said to them off the cuff, "You two should create something together." And so they sketched out an idea for this little series and it started as kind of like a sketch thing.
Mhm.
And then, but they were like, as they were putting it together, they're like, you know what? Maybe we can make like an episode. So if you notice, the first couple episodes of Submissions Only are much shorter because
Mhm.
they didn't know they wanted to make full length, like 22 minute,
Mhm.
which is kind of a standard sitcom length for primetime television. Um, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we made one episode, no budget. We all just like threw in money to like rent a space, and we did this thing. It was me and her and Lindsay, Nicole Chambers, and Asmaret, Gabor Makel, and Nathan, and a few other people, and Santino Fontana. And we were like, let's just put this thing up. And then we just like stuck it on Facebook, and people started watching it. And it was only on YouTube, and then the numbers started ticking up and ticking up and ticking up, and we were like, what? And a lot of it was because Andrew has a bit of a notoriety. He's got like a huge social. He's always had like a huge social media following. He just knows how to like curate that, and he's very good at that. Um, and so then she was like, let's make another episode. So then we started, and she really had an eye. Her and Andrew wrote it together. Kate really directed a lot of it. Andrew was really in charge of the camera work. Um, and then after season one, I kind of came on board to sort of like help creatively produce stuff. I was like, let's see if we can get Adam Pascal. Maybe here's something that happened to us. So all of those audition scenarios that you see in the beginning of every episode are really audition scenarios that happened to either us or things that we had heard about from like other people. So like pretty much everything on Submissions Only is based in some kind of truth and something that actually really happened, you know.
Yeah.
But then it started taking off, and Broadway World, gave us a little bit of money to post it on there. Kevin McCollum came and did, helped us finance our third season. We did Kickstarters. I mean, when then we actually shot like right at the tail end of the pandemic, when it was like sort of calming down, like in like the end of 2021, the summer of that, we shot a full scale Submissions Only pilot
Oh,
that
wow.
no one has ever seen. that Kevin spent a lot of money on, and it was full budget. They paid us. It was like Kate and Andrew wrote it, and it was really funny and really great. And we pitched it around, and nobody bought it. And it's just sitting in a vault. It is
And
unseen
you're gonna
footage.
send it to me to watch. Thank you.
Okay, I can ask Kate for the link.
Perfect. You're like, hey, so
Yeah,
like this person who like interviewed me, she's a huge fan of Submissions Only. Like,
yeah. Did you see it? She could see it.
no, seriously,
Um,
like that's where I fell in love with like Lindsay Nicole Chambers, and then like
the
she was
best.
in Strata, and I was like, you're
She's the
amazing.
greatest.
Oh,
She is. She's
she's
just
fantastic.
like, yeah, I know. I love her. She's just like the best. Actually, she came and she was my assistant on Spelling Bee that I just directed.
Yes,
Um,
we will talk about.
it
I
was a
will
great
say,
one.
in my research, I did look at most of your Instagram. I didn't do like a deep dive like I
Sure.
normally do because,
No, it's just pictures of my niece and just stupid shit. So, you
it's
know,
okay. I mean, my Instagram is mostly like playbills and me attempting to have a decent photo of myself to post on Instagram. So I get it.
listen, that's everybody's struggle. That's the
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah. Or like I'll make fun
Yeah.
of it, or I'll be like, hey, here's a photo of me where it's like, hey, let me post a photo of me where I look halfway decent for Instagram,
Yeah,
so I get it.
totally.
But no, I will say, like, I noticed that there was like a photo of you two like on the train on your way.
Hmm.
So let's talk about well, hold on, really quickly, because it's like
Yeah.
looking at me in the face and I wrote it down. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this was a one night only performance where you may or may not had glitter and paleness all over you as Edward in Twilight, the
Oh
musical.
yeah, yeah. Me and Megan Fahey from the
Mm.
we played opposite each other, and she's just the absolute best. We laughed our entire way through that thing. I don't really. Gabe Barry directed it. It was a very I don't even know how to put it to words. It was very wild. I just never really watched the Twilight movies. I mean, I had to do like a crash course in it. It was a Twilight parody. The girl who wrote it didn't really have the rights to do what she did with it. So we were supposed to be selling tickets, but then very quickly they sent a cease and desist letter to the York Theater, and then it quickly became a benefit, and all the money was then put towards some charity.
Yeah.
But it was I just it was one of those things where you just have to commit to the bit and dive into it. And Megan and I were biting our lips and trying not to laugh, but people in the audience were laughing so hard, and they were laughing at things that I didn't even know why it was funny, but it's just because it was not my world, and I don't know the ins and outs of Twilight.
Yeah. I've read the
But it
books,
was
seen the some of the movies. I remember distinctly seeing the first one at like a midnight showing because I was invited last minute to go. But
it was crazy. But the best thing I got out of that was being friends with Megan, um and now she's just a superstar.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew who she was because she was the first replacement in Next to Normal, and then
True.
she was in The Bold Type, and now she's an Emmy-nominated actress, very well deserved for White Lotus
100%.
season 2.
She's always been a brilliant. Even doing this Twilight musical, I was like, this girl is a really good actress, and she's really funny.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for her to be in like a Tina Fey movie where people are like, there's nothing that girl can't do. Also, she's the nicest, most sincere, sweetest person ever, and she's drop dead beautiful. Not to just like, it's crazy. She walks in a room and you're like, who the hell is that person? And then she's also like genuinely nice. You're like, oh my God, murder me, you know,
Kind of like Margot Robbie, where she's like beautiful and like super nice, and you're just like,
100%.
I'm a gremlin. Thank you. Yeah, I get it.
Honestly, Jessica Chastain was like that too. I met her one time through my friend, and she could not have been nicer. I mean, before she even did a Doll's House, like,
Yeah.
or not a Doll's House. Is it Doll's House? Is that what she
Well,
did?
the last thing she did was The Doll's House, but
A
her,
Doll's House.
I
Yeah,
think her, the Broadway debut, I'm pretty sure was Broadway debut. She did The Heiress like 10 years ago.
that's where I met her. Yeah, that's where I met her. Yeah.
I was more interested in Dan Stevens, to be honest with you. Matthew Crawley
Me
from
too.
Downton Abbey.
I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I met
Mm-hmm.
him. I used to work at the Cur. I knew the security guard. He let me and my friends like stand backstage, and he like had Dan Stevens like go up a flight of stairs to meet me, and there's a photo of me and him backstage. It was awesome.
Oh my God, he's so handsome.
Yeah, and he was super lovely too, from what I remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
so your soiree into directing, how did that come about? What made you want to direct? Was it
You
always just
know,
something?
yeah, I mean, it always was. The last 10 years, I've been very fortunate as an actor to have been in the room with really incredible directors and to have been in the room with some very famous directors that I think are not great directors. I'll be very honest. Some people that have won Tonys that I'm like, I don't think this person's actually a director. That's my opinion. So I've been able to sort of watch and observe and see what they're doing, and I've worked on like more new plays and more new musicals that never went anywhere or did go somewhere. I was in the original reading workshop cast of Come From Away all the way up until the end. I was the Chad Kimball part, but back in the day it was Colin 1 and Colin 2 instead of Stephen 1 and Stephen 2, whatever it's called. And right at the last second, Chris Ashley replaced me. So I've just done, I did the Taboo reading. I've done like, and I'm not the only one this has happened to, but it made me learn and grow and like observe stuff. And I just was randomly given the opportunity years ago to co-direct It's Only a Play at George Street because my good friend Kevin Cahoon was on a TV show and his TV schedule got switched. And since I had such a relationship with George
I think it's
Street,
his birthday
David
today.
Saint said, "Why don't you have Colin
Yeah.
co-direct this with you?" Were you going to say
Sorry, no, I
something?
think it's his birthday today, Kevin Cahoon. Isn't it?
Oh my God. No, 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 no. His birthday's in July. I was like, wait, what? No, no,
It
no. His
is?
birthday's in July.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know what? I
July.
think I was on like a Google thing today, and then I saw him, and then I texted my friend how old he is, and I was like, that's not right.
I
He's
know he looks. He's fresh
he's
as a
forever
newborn
he's
chick.
forever 25. That's
I could not agree. He's
they're like,
rock and roll.
yeah,
He's pure rock and roll to me.
and very well deserved
Um.
nomination for Shucked.
Oh,
Sorry.
I
Like,
know. I
I
know.
can also
Agreed.
talk about Kevin Cahoon too, because I adore him and I saw The
Let's
Wedding
do it.
Singer many times. And I saw that revival they did of How I Learned to Drive with him and Norbert Leo Butz like 5 times.
I know. He's the best. Yeah,
He's
he was in oh, what was that play that Scott Schwartz directed? It was him and Matthew Broderick. Where
oh,
he's
oh,
like the foreigner. He was in the foreigner at yeah. Like Kevin is such a remarkable person. We'll literally be in the West Village and he'll be like, "Oh look, it's Matthew," and it'll be it'll be Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker walking by the table in the West Village, and then they'll be like, "Kevin," and then Sarah Jessica Parker will run up and hug Kevin, and I'm like, "What is happening?" My friend is like so. Anyway, you should interview him for this podcast. He would do that. He would do it in a heartbeat.
I would love to. He's on my list. So if he's
Great.
listening,
I'll put in a good word. Yeah,
please,
he'll listen.
or just like give him my information and tell him to reach out to me because
He's my best. My
I'm
bestie,
gonna
truly.
wear my wedding singer shirt. I have a towel he's thrown at me from the wedding singer.
God,
Yeah.
I
And
love.
I will literally talk to him about the revival of How I Learned to Drive for days
I
because
know.
I
I love
directed that
that.
play in college and it has a very special place in my heart. And Norbert Leo Butz's Peck was just incredible. So
I agree. I loved it. I loved it. Loved it.
yeah, like I said, I saw it many times, and then I saw the newest revival they did too with the original two cast members, David
Totally.
Morse,
Yeah.
or at least
Yeah.
Parker. Anyway, back to you. So Kevin Cahoon calls you.
Oh, so they needed me to kind of come in and co-direct this because he wasn't going to be there for most of the rehearsals. We thought he was going to be there for more of the rehearsals, and it turned out he was really only there for two of the rehearsals. And so I had to so I ended up like, and they had done a virtual production of it during the pandemic, where George Street, they built a set, they had the actors there, everyone wore masks. They were able to they were one of the only theaters able to do that. And so
Mhm.
Kevin kind of directed it more as a staged filming of it. And so then when it came down to like really doing it on a full size stage, it's a very different thing with like actual exits and entrances and not like, great, cut, now go over here. So, and then some of the cast changed. It was Julie Halston was in his version, but she wasn't available. And
Mhm.
so Christine Nielsen was in our version. And it was really wild being like, this is the first professional thing I'm ever directing. And now I'm directing Christine Nielsen and teaching and showing her how to snort Coke, because the character snorts Coke at one point, which she was very game for. And I was like, I was just having an out of body experience being like, you are one of my favorite actors. And I cannot believe that you're asking me for guidance, but that is what you're supposed to do because I am directing it.
Yeah.
And
She's incredible and like
yeah,
and
she's the
like
best.
yeah, I saw her as the replacement in Spring Awakening as the woman, and
Yeah,
even
me
as
too.
like Bella Bergman's mother, she was fucking hilarious.
She's like she's there's nobody like her. She's unbelievable. We had the same agent. I've known her for a million years. I finally was so happy, and now we're friends, and we had a great time together. Lindsay Nicole Chambers was in that play. I cast her in that play. I take her with me everywhere. It was a great cast. I loved everybody. I loved doing it. And then while that was like, I don't know, 6 months after that, I was having dinner with David Saint, who's the artistic director at George Street. And I said to him, I really want to direct Spelling Bee. I have an idea how to like update it and do it for a 2023 audience. And at first he was like, musicals are hard and I don't know, we don't really do a lot unless it's enhancement, which is the same way for every regional theater, frankly. But then finally he was like, oh, somebody on our board was an original producer of Spelling Bee. So when I casually mentioned it, they got excited. So let's do it. So then I ended up getting to do it. I was in contact with William Finn and Rachel, who wrote the book, Rachel Schenken, and I gave them some ideas of what I was thinking about. I was able to cast it the way I wanted to. I mean, I could talk about it for hours about like the changes that I made. Nancy Braun was my choreographer. She choreographed Gutenberg, the musical on Broadway right now.
Yeah.
Um, she's remarkable. We did a musical together called The 12, which was at the
Which
Denver Center years
which
ago.
you won. Hold on, I have it written down. You won a Henry Award.
Well, the show won a Henry Award.
Oh, well, I guess that bio
Yeah.
I read was incorrect.
I think I was nominated, but I don't think I won. I think it was kind of a popularity contest. But I
All right.
love Denver. I love the Denver Center.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all popularity contests, but um anyway, Nancy and I came up with this whole thing for Spelling Bee, and it was just the best. My cast is and was amazing, and I hope that I get to continue the journey with it. Um, we'll see. It's time for Spelling Bee again. You know,
Yeah.
it's time.
So you definitely want to do it. Would you want to like see it in New York, more regionally? Like, what are your hopes to do your production of it? Like, where would you want to do it again?
I mean, the dream would be to do it in New York, of course, but like, I think, well, Nancy and I were talking about it. I would love to take it back out to one big regional theater again and
Mhm.
really work with the team, with the original team again, and have them really rewrite it. Because besides a few little, some of the improv jokes and all those kind of things, like I wrote some along with Kilty Reedy, who played Panch, the guy who sits behind the table,
Mhm.
and Ali Bonino, who you're going to see in Suffs. She was
Oh, I went
Rona.
to college with her.
Oh, you did? Oh, she's the best. She's the
She's
best.
she's incredible. The suit
Yeah,
like
she's a remarkable
lovely, super
performer.
talented, just like she's one of
Agreed.
those people like you're just happy that good things are happening for.
Could
Mm.
not agree more. Yeah, she's great. She's lovely. I got so lucky with this cast. I was like, and my standbys were incredible, and they went on all the time because of COVID and illnesses and stuff. I mean, it was just like such a unified team of people together that I felt lucky. I love my designers. My set designer was amazing. Jason Sims, my sound designer, was amazing. I mean, it sounded amazing. It was just great. It was great. Um, so yeah, I mean, we just had to do some things to like really update it for 2023. The comfort. I don't know how familiar you are with Spelling Bee. Like, do you know it sort of well, or?
I saw it when it was on Broadway. I was mostly excited because Daryl Hammond went into the show as the principal, and I'm a huge
Forgot
acclaimed
he did that.
fan. So like I was actually sitting like on the aisle where he comes down with the flag, and I went
Yeah,
woo, and I like applauded, and he like turned to me and nodded. So I have that moment of like Daryl Hammond acknowledging me.
I love
So
that. That's
yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, there were so many things we did, but the one thing that's standing out right now as I'm thinking about it is the comfort counselor the Mitch character, you know, he was always portrayed as the guy who was there doing his community service. You know, Derek Baskin played him,
Yeah.
and it was you know, but our version, I was like, okay, how can we update this so it's not, because for a 2023 audience, it would just come across very offensive. It was interesting when I was casting it, I asked a bunch of actors of color that are my friends to come in, and 90% of them were like, man, that's like that role's that's a little dated, and like I don't want to play convict in a musical, and like the kids are all scared of me, and I'm not really interested in that. And I was like, oh, you're right. So then I kept thinking like maybe I can reconceive it and I can make him like MAGA, and he can just be like a white ginger guy with like a long mullet. You know what I mean? Like, and he's
Yeah.
scary that way. And then I was like, no, I'm gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna make him like at night he's a drag performer, and he was only there because he got parking tickets and he doesn't want to be there, but he has a little bit of glitter on his lips and he got a little bit of like rouge, and he's just like this beautiful guy who was wearing like just like a jumper, and he is unabashedly gay and just does not give a fuck about these kids until he does, you know. And I think it really worked. Also, Lisa Zinni, who's in charge of all the costumes for Six and has designed a million shows, we met on Rent. She was my costume designer, and it was like she's and she designed all of Submissions Only, all the
Oh,
costumes for Submissions Only. So the one thing I will say is, like all of us, when you're in the business for a long time, you just
yeah.
start pulling your people together. And I'm like, I just have my group of people that I'm like, I trust you all, and I'm always open to new people. Most of my spelling bee cast, I did not know. I don't think I knew any of them except Kilty, except the guy, and I just knew him socially. But everyone else was brand new. So it's scary as a director, as you know, to be like, I'm going to go out on a limb, and these people are giving me the vibes that I think is going to work, and it's just a miracle when it comes together. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, again, it's only virtual readings, and it was during the pandemic a couple of years ago, so
Sure.
like not the same. But I do have aspirations to like direct on stage, and like I still
Yeah.
want to do putting it out there again. I do want to do a stage production of The Shape of Things. It is my dream. Neil Abute is fully aware that I want to do it because I have said it to him. I have told it to him the podcast. Like I've
Yeah.
emailed him, like, I hope we work together again next year when I like sent him a happy holidays email. Like it is my dream to direct that play. And I already have the cast in my head. But
You'll do it.
yeah, I mean, I'm not good with like, I don't know how to do like directing proposals and stuff. And I have a friend who works in like the producing side. So she
Yeah.
promised she will help me. And I was like, this needs to happen. Like, I have a baller cast. It needs to happen in New York, off Broadway, at one of these places. Your boss can make it happen. Like, it's
Totally.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, but like the whole thing with the virtual readings, like I had a list of people who I wanted for the shows. And it's always like the waiting game of like, are these people going to say yes? Are they not going to say yes? And then there were like
Yeah.
some people I couldn't believe said yes to doing like a virtual play reading of a Neil Abute play. Like I did a production of The Mercy Seat with Colin Donnell and Julia Murney. Like that's
Yeah.
not normal. Like I was so excited, I jumped into my refrigerator, like I was jumping up and down in my kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
but we did a reading of The Rabbit Hole with Celia Keenan Bolger.
Hello.
And it was like,
Yeah.
she doesn't know us if she fell on us and she did it. Like, so, but I
I mean,
understand.
most actors want to work. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they just want to do something. And so if the
Yeah.
timing's right and they're available and they're like, okay, I can do it, they will. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt that way with Submissions Only. I mean, like when we were
Yeah.
first starting, no one knew what the fuck we were doing, and no
Yeah.
one knew who our show was. And we got Cheetah Rivera, we got Kristen Chenoweth, we had a million people. That was like these super famous people. You know, Malcolm Getz, and like,
Yeah.
it just went. Joanna Gleason. I mean, I was dying when she was on set with us. I was like, what is happening? When Cheetah Rivera walked on set, I thought I was going to fall through the fucking ground. I was like, what is happening right now? And
Yeah.
people are just like, just ask them. All they can say is no.
Yeah.
That has been my career mantra. I'm like, send the email. If they don't respond, who cares? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't think they're getting as many emails as you think they're getting, because most people are too scared to send the email.
My thing too, that's kind of the same thing with the podcast because
Yeah,
it's literally just like me in my apartment and like I don't edit my podcast. I only have Instagram. I'm in the process of making a website. Uh,
sure.
like it's just me doing everything and it's a
Hmm.
matter of me like attempting to find people's emails or their agents' emails or like things like
Sure.
that. And my thing is like
Yeah.
the worst that people can do is not respond or they say no or like and then you move on because I always say it wasn't
Yeah.
meant to be if they say no. And then like
Exactly. Yeah.
months later, you can always send like another email to see if they're interested. Like I had the actor Jamie Parker come on my podcast last year, and I waited a couple of months to reach back out to see if he would come on, and he did.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you get more yeses than you do nos. You know,
It
just
depends.
say yes. Just say
Yes.
yes.
Well, I was so excited when you were like, I would love to. I was like, oh my God, Colin Hanlon is going to come on my podcast.
That's so funny. I've
I,
only done a couple of podcasts, like through like with friends and stuff, and
oh,
I don't
really?
know. Half the time, I'm always surprised that because I'm just not really acting as much anymore. So I'm always kind of surprised when someone like remembers me or knows who I am, and I'm really not trying to be humble. I'm being dead serious. Like I feel like I'm the actor that like my friends and my theater people kind of know, but not
Yeah.
like it's I don't
But
know.
here's my,
I'm
I
very neat,
Well,
very
he was
niche.
also, it's like Theater Enthusiast is the title, but I have been seeing the Broadway shows for like over 30 years, not to age myself.
I hear you.
But I also like if I'm a fan of someone, I'll like kind of follow their career and I'm just interested in the people I want to like interested in to talk to. Like, because you also have like a very extensive career and you were kind of doing it all. And I think that's really interesting. And like the main goal of the podcast is to have people who like want to get into the industry or in the industry or like don't know what to do or what have you. They listen to different people's story
Journeys.
of how they got in, what they're doing now, to maybe kind of see like, oh, that's something I didn't think about, or like, oh, it's okay, like I can do this, or that's like an interesting thing to do. So
Hmm.
yeah. And I
Totally.
also just like I reach out to the people who I want to have on the podcast and talk to. And there are some people who've reached out to me, and if I think they're interesting and I want to have them come on, I'll say, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So you also are now teaching as well. So you're an adjunct professor at NYU. You teach, which I find very funny about this because you're like, I didn't know how to do a self-tape, and now you teach self-tape classes.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Yeah, and
I'm very much self-taught. I mean, I did the only reason I started like really doing the self-tape teaching is because I was teaching, I was coaching people long before the pandemic, like friends. I would like mostly for theater stuff, sometimes some TV and film, because nobody was self-taping because everyone was just going in person. So we would just sit down with a script and figure out because breaking down a TV script is very different than breaking down a theater script. And so I was just trying to help people figure out the difference between, especially if they're mostly theater trained and they haven't done any TV and film. And then during the pandemic, it was like a crash course, and I had to figure it out for myself because I was still auditioning just for TV and film. I mean, I got uncoupled during the pandemic. Essentially, it was like the first audition out of the pandemic. So I was working with my roommate because she's an actor as well, and and then all of a sudden I got hired to teach at one school uptown called IAMT, which is Institute for American Musical Theater, and they hired me to be their TV and film person.
which
And then
you're
from there,
and I wrote down. So you're the head
yeah,
of the TV and film at the blah blah blah. That's not proper
yeah,
English. IAMT. There we go.
yeah. It's a 2-year program with an option to do a third year, and I usually just teach the third years. I'll sub in sometimes for the second years if
Mhm.
somebody's not available. But then I had a friend at NYU. They needed a teacher to come in and teach a musical theater class, which I did that. And I also work at Stella Adler. I'm an adjunct at Stella Adler. I go in tomorrow. I'm doing their winter intensive. And then I go around to different schools around the country and help all these theater actors not be so scared about auditioning for TV and film because I don't think it's that hard. And then after, working together for a little bit, my goal is for them to also not think it's that hard. So, and I do private stuff with private clients, and I also do my own classes. Like right now I'm in the middle of like a 3-week session
Yeah.
over with like 3 different nights. And it's great. It also helps me hone my directing skills, like learning how to like work with an actor, not give them a line reading, just figure out what my vocabulary is to try to get them to understand what's happening in the scene, where I think they need to go. It's really sort of it's married my directing life and my coaching life together, and it's been great. I mean, I have a lot of return customers, which is the only thing that makes me feel like I'm doing it right, because everybody feels like they're a fraud all the time, and I definitely struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, am I a fraud? But
I feel like
I
a
guess
lot of
not.
actors feel that way. They have like imposter syndrome.
Totally. Absolutely.
I feel
Yeah.
that way if I'm like going to a club, which I don't do, but like the times I have been at a club, it's like
Never.
I'm uncomfortable.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So do there's like that adult, I can't speak English. I told you
That's
I've been
okay.
like since this morning. I can't even speak. I'm just gonna sit here
It's
and
fine.
we're good. Do you agree with the statement of actors make better directors, or do you think having the background in acting has helped with directing for you?
I think it really depends because going back to Susan Stroman, I
Yeah.
don't know that. I mean, I know Susan was a dancer back in the day. I don't know how much acting work she did, but that woman can break down a scene like no one I've actually ever experienced
Mhm.
yet as an actor watching her work. So I do think I do think it helps if you're an actor because you have an advantage of having the actor's brain. Where a lot of times I've seen directors get very frustrated when the actor doesn't take their note the first time they give it to them. And I'm just a proponent of I'll let you go 3 or 4 times and then I'll remind you of the note because I know you're working it into your body. You rehearse it one way, it's muscle memory. It's hard to block that. It's hard to take that out of there. You know what I mean? Or they say, yes, I understand, but they don't quite really understand what you're saying. And they
Mhm.
need time to kind of work it out on their own, you know? Um, it's just, it's hard sometimes because I've worked with a few actor directors and sometimes they'll act it out for you. And I really have learned since they did that, and that always really annoyed me when I was getting those kind of directions. I just was like, I've learned not to do that, you
Yeah.
know. But there's still some things that I need to work on. Like I think the staging of a show, figuring out a scene, figuring out a sequence, having a vision, all that stuff. I feel like I do pretty well. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Sometimes it's the design aspect of putting it all together that I still feel like really insecure about, even though I was really proud of the last two things that I had done. You know, I really rely on my designers to kind of like guide me a little bit, you know, and I just people that I want to work with. And I have been very lucky that I've worked with these incredible designers who have like, you know, I also just want them to feel like they're doing their work and it's their time to shine as well, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any dream roles or projects that you would want to work on or do or perform?
Yeah.
'Cause
I
you
mean,
said that, before you like officially take off your musical theater hat or leave it
yeah.
behind.
Yeah. I mean, all right, so if I had to be in a show, if I had to be in a musical, I
Mhm.
would want to do Floyd Collins. No
Mm.
one ever does it. I want to be Floyd and Floyd Collins. I would love to do that. But I will say, while I like acting and I enjoy it when I'm in something really that I'm passionate about. It's great. I don't really enjoy the like pursuit of acting that much anymore. Um, I'm grateful when people ask me to do things. I normally say yes, just depending on it, like my schedule and stuff. But the last couple of years, I really have put all of my resources, all of my brain power into writing and directing. And my writing partner is Jeff Hiller, who's on Somebody Somewhere. If you watch
Oh,
that TV show,
I am fully aware of who he is. Bloody, bloody
yeah,
Andrew Jackson. I do quote, "Your shoes have now been cobbled," or
totally. Silence the musical.
oh
Yeah,
my God, what's that other line? Like president or something like that.
me too.
I really loved Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, and I
Oh,
just wish that
yeah,
it
me
got
too.
to you that it just I also just really love Jim Walker too, but
Oh, they're all
um
great. That cast was like that was some of Alex Timber's best.
yeah, like Bryce
That
Pinkham
was
was
great.
in it, like
Totally, he's
incredible.
great.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so Jeff and I, no,
Jeff
no, no,
Hill.
Jeff and I started writing. We paired up like 4 years ago. I
Hmm.
wrote a pilot. I had an idea for it. I wrote it before the pandemic. I wrote it when I was doing a show at the Old Globe, and I was like really bored, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? Like, you know, like why? What's happening with my life? I'm single, and I'm like, you know, I'm living at the Old Globe. Like, what? I mean, even though it was an honor to be there, I just was like, I'm too old to be single and living in this housing. Like, I just can't. So I wrote a series about it, and I sent it to him, and him and I were kind of going through the same things in life and he paired up with me and we wrote this thing and we got producers and we have a big fancy showrunner that I'm not at liberty to tell you who it is, but he's great and we worked together for like 2 years and we're in the midst of pitching it and then him and I wrote another series together about, you know, and both of them are kind of gay centric
Mhm.
which were gay centric comedies, which doesn't
Okay.
really. I mean, I know Uncoupled is happening, but it's funny about Uncoupled is that like I wrote my series before Uncoupled came along, and then the old premise of my series was very similar to what Uncoupled was, and it was like, oh shit, this thing was already produced ahead of us. So then we changed some stuff in the thing, the original thing that we wrote. Um, but I really enjoy it. I mean, I really get a lot of passion out of it and a lot of like I just love it. Like I still like acting. I just feel like it's just not it used to be my only thing. It was like the thing I was like, I have to do it. I was so competitive. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna all my voice lessons and stuff. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't know, 8 shows a week is really hard.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I just found that I could be creative in other ways. And to be honest, writing and directing is way more of a challenge for me than acting is. Not that I think I'm the greatest actor in the whole world, but it's like I know how to be in a room, I know how to be on stage, I know how to do all that stuff. But
Mhm.
I'm just like I just have a thirst to learn how to do other things, you know. So this year I'm gonna shadow a few TV directors and I'm like trying to dip my toes into that world and
Mhm.
just learn a little bit more, you know. And I have a couple offers to direct some theater pieces, but
Which one?
kind of like what you
Oh, yeah.
yeah, which I mean, it's because it's always like, is it gonna happen? I don't know, but like it's fun. I mean, the good thing is like it's there. These people that ask me have been friends with me for a million years and have now gone on to like write the music on like very famous TV shows, and they saw Spelling Bee and they were like, we why don't we do something together? You really like this Spelling Bee was incredible. Like, look what you did with this thing. And so I was like, okay. So, but what I didn't realize, and going back to what you said, is the one thing I didn't realize when you're a director, especially when you're starting out, is that you have to pitch that project to all of these people. Like, you got to be you're the one, you're the front man until you're not, until you get the producer, until you get the thing. Like that's the one thing I didn't realize. I was like, okay, great, you hired me to direct this thing. Now what do we do? And now they're like, now you go out and contact all of these theaters and get our show there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that's like so much work, you
Yeah.
know, and with no guarantee.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I love a challenge. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I like how in my head I have like the shape of things cast in my head. Doesn't mean we're gonna get them, but I have backups for only one of the parts, but it's fine. It's fine.
Sure, absolutely. And honestly, when you do it, when you get into auditions,
I
because you'll
do it.
probably have auditions, because you're not going to believe the amount of talented people that are out there. Like when Spelling Bee happened, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like it's even when I'm teaching and I'm coaching people,
Mhm.
like the amount of talent is not lacking in New York City.
Mhm.
It's the amount of jobs that are lacking.
Yeah. I mean, I will say
Yeah.
though, when Tick Tick Boom the movie came out, and
Hmm.
like I think Lin-Manuel was saying like, oh, everybody was like, oh my God, you use like a theater actor. He's like, no, they're New York actors. Like
Yeah.
they are. They just happen to do this thing, but they're actors, like they're New York actors. So
Totally. Yeah.
I was actually just like really excited to see like Danny Burstein and Judy Kuhn as Jonathan Larson's parents. Like that's what
Totally.
got me the most excited about the movie when they came on screen because I love him.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
love that movie. I thought it was great. I thought they did a
I
good job with it. And I am a snob, so I was like, I think they did this really well.
Yeah, and it's like, what can't Lin-Manuel Miranda do well? Yeah,
Or Andrew Garfield, frankly.
I
You know,
know.
screw him
You should
coming to
have
take
went
our
out for
jobs.
that year. Just saying.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
see that movie that the other person won for, but I will say, like, Tick Tick Boom was so great. I don't think I can sit and watch it again just because
yeah. Of course.
of like, I don't know, it was fantastic. I was like, I don't know if I can like emotionally sit through it again.
Have you actually seen it on stage when it's just done with the three people?
I haven't seen it on stage with just
Oh, it's a different thing. I mean, I really love the movie, but what makes that original version special is that the other two characters besides Jonathan play every other role.
Oh wait,
So
no, I
they're
have. I saw it
okay,
when
yeah.
they did it. Oh my God, what's oh fuck, I can Nick something. They did it at like
City Center when they did it.
no, they did it like off Broadway somewhere.
Oh, I know you're talking about Nick Blaemire. Yeah, they did
Yes,
it
I saw that
at the
production.
Keene Theater Company. Oh yeah, great
Yes.
With Lily Cooper.
Well, I think
Oh, she
yes.
was somebody. I think she came in later on or
Yeah,
something,
I
right? She
saw
replaced.
Sierra, I think. I
Yeah,
don't
so I
know.
think Sierra was the original. I
George
think Lily came
Salazar, I
in.
think, was in it. Oh my God, I did
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
a section of it. I feel so much better now. I've totally, you know, you like, I've seen so many shows. I don't know if you have this, but you forget things that you've seen.
Yeah.
I have all of my
Except the
kids.
ones that are horrible. Like the
Yeah,
ones that are horrible are ingrained in your brain. Thank God.
I'm not commenting on.
I won't either. No,
I
not
also,
this.
I think, with age, you just feel like if a show is terrible, you just feel so bad because they work so
Yeah.
hard on it.
Oh yeah, and they just like, and they're getting paid, so they're just like,
Yeah. There was
you're
one
like, don't take away their
musical,
paycheck.
yeah, there was one musical I saw on Broadway where I was like, this isn't good. Oh, it might be better. It's good. Oh no, it's not good at all. I'm not going to name
Yeah.
what it is, but maybe off podcast. But uh,
Yeah. Once it goes, this recording is finished, then we can really tea.
oh no, I've teed with people after. I remember I had somebody on and I mentioned like this complete asshole that I
Uh-huh.
interacted with once, like this one actor who was such a dick to me.
Oh my
And I was
God.
just like, oh, I saw the show, it's my favorite. And they just like said something so nasty to me. And as soon as the recording was over, the person went, who was it? So
Yeah, totally.
yeah, and they
Oh my
just like
God.
had that clocked in their head. But
Yeah.
do you have and like speaking of theater things, do you have any like top going theater experiences?
Oh well, yes. I mean, I was funny because I just posted this on my story on
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes.
Is that Broadway or Bygone Broadway, which is a really great follow if you're a theater person,
Yes.
on Instagram. They posted a picture of Brent Carver, who sadly passed away during the pandemic, who was in Parade originally, and who was in Kiss. He played Molina in Kiss the Spider Woman. And when I was a kid, I saw Kiss the Spider Woman, and it true. And I'm not even just saying this just to say it, but it truly is the thing that made me want to be an actor. Like I watched this man's performance, and I was like, oh my God, like I was just transfixed by him and by that show. And I mean, it is my favorite musical, and it's just there's something so unbelievably perfect and imperfect about that show that I just can't get over. And his performance
Yeah.
was amazing. So it's the one thing that just really sticks out in my head. You know, that and maybe like August Osage County, because I went in not knowing anything about that play. And then it was so epic and just like the acting was like incredible. The story, it was like the time flew by. You were just like, you know. And then frankly, like I'm very fortunate, I'm very lucky. I have made some really incredible friends in this business. So honestly, just going to see my friends perform
Mhm.
in whether it's Broadway or off Broadway or regionally or wherever on TV, and even if the show's not great, just watching them soar because like all my friends are talented. You know what I mean? Like I can't. It's like I keep saying. It's like when I was like in the. I'm not in the dating pool anymore. I've had a boyfriend who I love for the last 2 years. But like when I was in the dating pool, people were like, "Do you date actors?" And I was like, "Very. I don't. I'm trying not to date actors because it's hard because I could date like a bad dental hygienist because I wouldn't know whether that person is bad at dental hygienicy. I don't know what the word is, but like if they're a bad actor and I have to go watch them, like I don't think that's possible. So I feel that way about all my friends. Like I'm so proud of all of them, and I think they're all just amazing. And I think there's great things that are happening on Broadway. I think there's some true crap that's happening on Broadway, but I think that's part of it. People act like this is a new thing, and this has just always been the way it is. You know what I mean? Like it's never changing. Maybe it's getting a little worse. I don't know. I think there's just more movie musicals, but like,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't know.
I don't
Pretty
know.
Woman is my guilty pleasure musical.
Sure, I've never seen it.
You know what? That's fine. But
Yeah.
it is my guilty pleasure. I saw it 7 times on Broadway. I have a little shame about it, but again, it was my guilty pleasure. I will say, I think one of the last times I saw it, I had a friend in town and like we wanted to see a show together and he entered lotteries, I entered lotteries, and I won Pretty Woman. And I said to
Great.
him, I won Pretty Woman. We do not have to see this show. I have seen it.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to see it, it's fine. Again, we do not have to see it. And he goes, let's go. And he goes, yeah, let's move on. But I will say, Pretty Woman is the reason I got to meet Adam Pascal when he was in the
He's the
show.
nicest. He's the nicest.
And I have his oh my God, his model prisoner CD that I got in 8th grade and I got him to sign it. And the
Amazing.
and I only frame photo of myself in my apartment is with me and Adam Pascal.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And you're like, and it's right behind me.
It is. It's actually like on my bookshelf right
Oh
over
my
there.
God, that's
Oh,
so funny.
Maybe I'll just like show it
He's
to you quickly off podcast. Like, what's up?
he is so nice. Like, thank God that whole original cast of Rent is really the nicest people ever. Like, we were just Jeff and I were just picketing for the SAG, the SAG strike, and who was there but Daphne Rubin Vegas, Jesus, Daphne Rubin Vega behind us.
Yeah.
And Jeff had just been sort of talking about her on a talk show, and she came up and she was like, "Hey, I haven't met you yet. I know you." And Jeff was like, what's going on? Mimi is like hitting me up. Oh my God. It was like so crazy. She's so nice.
She
Like,
asked,
thank God.
yeah. Did she ask if he could light her candle?
Oh my God. He should have. Well, she'd have to reach up. He'd have to reach down pretty low and she'd have to reach up pretty high because he's like, it's like 6'5" or something.
I'm sorry, I just like those two lines from Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. Your shoes
I
have now
know.
been cobbled. I'll never forget.
I know. Jeff
Yeah.
is the funniest person I've ever met. Like, hands down. Beyond my funniest friends. We did a production of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas at the Goodspeed Opera House together, like 12 years ago. And we knew each other before that, but I definitely stalked him. I was like, you're going to be my friend. Like, one
Yeah.
of those people that I just pounced on him and I wouldn't let him go for 20 years. And now he's stuck with me because we wrote two projects together. So, you know,
He's also done like a bunch of Shakespeare in the Park too. Like
yeah,
he can
he
do
can do
it.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
they're on their, he leaves in like a week and a half to go do their third season of Somebody Somewhere. So I'm so
also for
happy for them.
part it's like, oh,
I know the best. I know.
it's
He's
like
also really cool and really
singing
nice.
a One Direction song to Anderson Cooper on the
I
new.
know. So unhinged. So
I,
good.
oh, I love her
She's
so much.
perfectly unhinged. She knows exactly what she's doing, and it is perfection. Nobody's like her. No one's ever been like her. We used to go see her. I mean, I'm friends with Jason Egan and Zach Schaefer, and they live in my building, and they're best friends with her. And we would just go see her at Joe's Pub like
Yeah.
15, 16 years ago. And everyone was like, this is so unhinged. It's so crazy, you know?
Yeah. I do want to ask though, because you mentioned Kiss of a Spider Woman being your favorite musical of all time. Would you be they did Piazza at City Center, and that's my favorite musical, and I was very apprehensive about seeing it because it's like one of those things where it's like you don't want to like see your favorite thing done differently or what have I mean,
Yeah, with different people.
yeah,
Yeah,
I did see it and I loved it and I didn't
yeah.
cry as much as I thought I was going to, but how do you feel in that situation? Like it's your favorite beloved thing. Like how would you feel about it being
I've heard rumors about like different productions that they were trying to do. They were like trying to do it at the Kennedy Center, and I was getting my agent to sort of like
yeah.
push. You know what I mean? I had a choreographer that I had in mind. I had actors that I was like, I really want to direct this. Like, I really think I have a good vision for this. And then it very quickly fell apart. Nobody, they pulled the rights to it because I've been hearing that they're doing a Kiss the Spider Woman movie
Yeah.
with J Lo. And I actually think that is great casting because that character is supposed to be a movie star and drop dead gorgeous and an incredible dancer
Mhm.
and a decent singer, and all of these things are J Lo. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like she can like she knows what she's doing, so it's actually like kind of remarkably perfect. So, but the only thing I worry about is like, oh God, some of the casting, like what's it going to be? But Bill Condon is doing it, and he's a
Yeah.
genius. So I actually think it's in great hands. Like I just yeah, I worry. I mean, if they did it at like I don't know, somewhere and it was just like somebody lame, I'd be like, oh no. But it's also something to be said about like they can never take away that original production from me. They can never take away the original Light in the Piazza. I agree with you. Light in the Piazza was actually mind-blowingly genius when I saw that. I was like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life. Um, but you just go like, okay, there's been musicals that I loved as a kid that I went to go see at City Center and a few other places, and I'm like, wow, this was really misguided, and not great. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. But they can't take away that recording from me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Are you ready for the actor studio questions now?
Okay, do
I'm
it,
gonna
do it,
let
do
you
it, do
say
it, and then I'll let you go. Go ahead,
yeah,
go
I'll
ahead.
let you go. All right. What is your favorite word?
Um, Rad.
What is your least favorite word?
Um, Least favorite word. No.
What turns you on?
Commitment.
What turns you off?
dismissiveness.
What is your favorite curse word?
Um, What's my favorite curse word? Um, my God, I'm just gonna go ahead and say fuck because it's just such a good word. You can use it for literally anything.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Hmm.
What sound or noise do you love other than the cast album of Kiss of the Spider Woman?
Wait, say that one more time. What's the
I
what I
said,
love?
sound or noise do you love? I was making a bad joke.
Oh,
What sound or about the Spider Woman soundtrack? Cast recording, excuse me. What sound or noise do you love?
probably the ocean.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Uh, like cars hoinking. Oh my God, I'm tired too. Cars honking,
Hoinking is a whole other thing that they do.
hoinking. Yeah.
Let me
What
tell
are
you,
they
with
for those
hoinking
cars?
all night. Oy.
Yeah. Oh, the hoinking out there.
I could get Jewy, it's fine. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Oh, maybe a designer, like an interior designer.
What profession would you not like to do?
A politician.
Mm. I already told
Hmm.
my therapist I'm probably double booking her this year. Um, and if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Um, you made a wrong turn.
Aw. And as Miss Booth would
Just kidding.
say, you are your. Oh, do you want to answer it again? Or wrong to know your answer for that?
No, that's fine. I mean, I don't know. Your friends are waiting.
And here are your students, as you would say. So
Totally, yeah, totally.
why, this is my kind of last question, unless something else pops into my head, but why do you think theater is important?
I think theater is important. It's funny because I talk to my students about this. I think that what makes theater so special and unique is that it is the only art form, I believe, that cannot be achieved without an audience. And so it doesn't thrive. You can't do theater with AI. You know what I mean? You have to have there needs to be living, breathing human beings collectively sharing a moment together.
Mm,
And there's nothing like it. Like when it works really well. And then when it doesn't work, it still kind of works well that everyone in the audience is like, oh my God, this is bad. So like there's just the thing that has to come together in order to
mhm.
make it something special. And when it does, we just don't remember those moments. Like if you happen to be in the audience, like the
Yeah.
people that saw Barbara Streisand and Funny Girl originally, like they'll never forget it. You know what I mean? Like seeing Cynthia Erivo in The Color Purple during previews before everybody was talking about her, it was one of the craziest theatrical experiences I've ever had. I was like, who is this person? What
Yeah.
is this performance? What is that voice? So I just think TV and film is so beautiful. The TV and film is really all about them showing you what you're supposed to feel. And theater is about the audience is part of a live performance. They
Yeah.
have to be, which is why there's such a difference when I'm directing and we're doing it in the rehearsal room or we're doing tech. And then all of a sudden we have our first dress rehearsal. Everything comes together then. Like the energy just hits the stage, it hits the theater. And that doesn't happen in a movie screening. It doesn't happen, you know, at an art fair. It doesn't happen at a poetry reading. It doesn't, none of that happens. Theater doesn't exist without an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Helen, if people want to work with you,
Yeah.
how do they get in touch with you to do so?
I mean, they can just email me. My email is right on, my work email's on my Instagram. So it's just Colin Hanlon coaching at Gmail.
Yeah,
Um,
let's share with the people. That's how I got in touch with you. So there we are.
yeah. See, I respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope that I get to I hope that I get all my directing dreams fulfilled and I hope I can work with all these actors that I've been already working with. And I mean, I just I'm jumping off the cliff with all these other things and
Yeah.
I'm just you know it's a leap of faith. We'll see.
Yeah. And
So
hope Lloyd Collins happens.
yeah. Totally. I don't know who's gonna do it. That show is so crazy and like
Just
man,
direct it
I'm gonna
yourself and
go.
like put yourself in it. Who,
Oh my God.
or
Could
just
you
have
imagine?
like a directing friend be like, hey, I want to do Floyd Collins. Can you direct it? I'm going to star in it. It's going to be great.
Totally.
And,
I know.
you know,
Maybe that'll be my 2025 project. I'll be like, who wants to direct me in Floyd Collins?
why not? I mean,
What theater?
I'll be busy with The Shape of Things and other Neil Abute plays, but maybe I'll do it.
Well, we can do it. We can do it in the same season. We'll find out. We'll
Perfect.
find a theater to do both. Yeah.
Perfect. Why not?
Like,
Or
yeah,
one
why
of
not?
us will win the lottery and we'll just like buy a theater.
Oh, completely. That would be great too. Oh my God. If I could
Like
just
that's
produce my own work, oh, that'd be so much
Oh
easier.
no, like when I win the lottery, like I know what I want to do, but then like after a certain point, it's like, what do I want to do? And I just remember that I would start my own theater company.
I mean, what a dream.
Yeah. I like
What
how
a
I
total dream.
just remembered that, by the way.
That's great. Well,
Yeah, there we
then
go.
that was one of the whole reasons why we did this tonight. So you could
Yeah.
remember that passion.
At the end of the podcast, that's where we came to. So, Colin, thank you so much for coming on. You can stay on after I'm done recording. And thank you for those who are listening. And anything else?
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of
Thank you
course.
for emailing me and inviting me on here. It was lovely to chat with you. So
Thank you for coming on and
yeah,
awesome. And
yeah,
thanks for listening, guys. I look at my microphone like it's an actual person
sure.
when I
Why not? Sometimes it is.
yeah, all right. Bye guys.
Bye.